A chilly but sunny day in Columbia, South Carolina as we get ready for a top 5 matchup between number 2 South Carolina and number 5 Texas. The fans filing in, the atmosphere a charged up one as we welcome you to the SEC on ESPN. What should be a terrific game today as we welcome you courtside. Hey everybody, Ryan Rucco alongside the Hall of Famer Rebecca Lobo. So happy to be with you this Sunday afternoon on ESPN. Rebecca, Texas, first year in the SEC. We get a big time matchup like this. A Texas team that's lost just one game this year. That was an overtime loss to a great team in Notre Dame. A lot of talent for the Longhorns, but chief among them, Madison Booker, a very special sophomore.
Without question, one of the best young players in all of women's college basketball. At 6'1", she can handle the rock. She gets to the rim. Absolutely terrific in the mid-range. She's averaging 15 points on this season, and her efficiency is off the charts, shooting over 50% from the field and 46 from 3.
You see the numbers for Madison Booker on Thursday. Did that in just 18 minutes of work. Meanwhile, South Carolina, national champions a year ago. They have a couple of big-time streaks on the line today. They've won 66 straight home games. They've won 50 straight regular season SEC games, a conference record. And this is a team that has a lot of depth, something they'll need with Ashlyn Watkins out for the season with a torn ACL.
This is a team whose recipe for success is to wear you down with the amount of talent that they have on their team. You see their top 5 leading scorers. None of those numbers is off the chart. That doesn't matter. Cumulatively, they get it done. This is the number of starts of their top 5 leading scorers. A couple of them have no starts. Joyce Edwards only has 1. They wear you down with their depth.
The bench scoring number 1 in Division 1. The number 2 team in the nation is Texas. 2 deep teams, 2 tough teams, and already an electric atmosphere in South Carolina. Taking a look at the starting lineups. Rory Harmon, Shea Holly playing a program record 150th game for Texas today. Madison Booker, Aaliyah Moore, Taylor Jones. For South Carolina, Te-Hina Paopao, Raven Johnson, Bree Hall, Chloe Kitts, and Sanaya Fagan. We mentioned that Ashlyn Watkins is out for the season. A key difference maker on both sides of the ball. So many intangible winning plays. Tore her ACL. South Carolina will be without her the rest of the way. But one of the things Dawn Staley did talk about was the way it frees up some minutes for some other players like a Joyce Edwards to settle in, maybe get a little bit more of a runway to have success. Dawn Staley, 17 seasons as South Carolina's head coach. 13-3 all-time against Vic Schaefer. Those two used to meet often when Vic was the head coach of Mississippi State in the SEC. What a job Vic has also done now at Texas. 3 Elite 8 appearances. This just his 5th season at the helm. Dawn Staley responsible for South Carolina's 3 national championships, including last year's undefeated season. Big time anticipation for this matchup. And we are about ready to go in Columbia. Here we go, Texas and South Carolina, number 2 and number 5.
See South Carolina starting out in man-to-man. That is their bread and butter defense, as it is for Texas.
Here's Rory Harmon. Harmon through the lane. Nice finish with the left hand. And she's been getting a little bit more of her bounce back over the last couple of weeks after missing last season with a torn ACL.
Her bounce and explosiveness, and that's so much part of her game, especially when she's attacking the rim or getting to her mid-range pull-up.
And that's a whistle going the other way. Aaliyah Moore fired up as the offensive foul is called on Chloe Kitts.
See Rory Harmon as she gets the little pitch and just a step on the defender, the explosiveness finishing at the rim. Only 5'6", she needs that explosiveness to finish inside.
Texas was able to make it to the Elite Eight even after their point guard and leader went down a season ago. Madison Booker was the primary reason why, as she misses the jumper there, but able to follow it up. More twists inside and has it deflected out of bounds by Kitts.
This is a Texas team that leads the nation in offensive rebound rate. They get 46% of their misses. That's one of the things Dawn Staley pointed to in this matchup, is they have to do a good job on the glass.
Pow. A terrific save. The last touches her, and it will stay with Texas.
And we've seen Bree Hall has the defensive assignment on Booker, and that's going to be a tough assignment all day long. Running into screens, trying to keep her in front of you, and then trying also to keep her off the glass.
Here's Booker mid-range, no, and Kitts secures the rebound. Pow pushing pace for South Carolina. He was so good a season ago en route to that national championship. Has added to her game this year as Fagan drops in the jumper. Sanaya Fagan, another player who will be relied upon a little bit more in that front court without Watkins.
So that's one of the things she can do. She steps into that shot confidently. She hit her first 3 of the season a game ago.
Here's Booker, gets the whistle, and Madison Booker is going to shoot 2 as Fagan picks up an early personal.
Madison Booker is just going to put pressure on the defense. Her primary defender, but then the help side defenders as well. Because she has strength, she has quickness, and you know at any point she can pull up and take the mid-range, because that's where she really excels.
An All-American. She was the first freshman in Big 12 history to win Conference Player of the Year a season ago, and a first-team All-American, a preseason All-American this year heading into this season. It's the second free throw. Booker was also the Cheryl Miller Small Forward of the Year a year ago.
You see Texas extend their pressure defense full court. They will at times do that the entire game.
Here's Hall. Stops, dishes, Fagan, again.
Both times, what have we seen when Fagan's got that look? Dribble penetration and then a toss back out when the defense has to help.
Here's Booker. Booker, pull up, missed it badly. Fagan the rebound. Booker inaccurate at the start of this one. Here's Johnson storming in, got hit by Jones, and free throws coming here for Raven Johnson.
Dribble penetration in by Hall, turns and looks, Fagan. That's easy. You step right into it. Post players love that. Right around the free throw line, if that's your shot, just step right into it, let it go. See that Kyla Oldacre coming into the game for Texas. She started the last couple for the Longhorns, coming in off the bench in this one. She brings a big, strong interior presence.
She also brings a stoicism.
Yes.
We were talking with her about that before the game today, how she has the mentality of being unbothered regardless of circumstances.
The look you just saw on her face is the exact same look you're going to see throughout the entire game. Even if she finishes with 30 or has a monster block, that's what she looks like.
Said it comes from her mother, taught her to stay poised regardless of all circumstances, and she does. Here battling on the offensive glass, something both of these teams do incredibly well. Texas #1 in the nation in offensive rebounding percentage. Harmon gets blocked by Fagan. Oldacre collects it, can't flip it in. Another chance, and there's 3 offensive rebounds on 1 possession for Oldacre.
6'10" wingspan certainly helps, but she just has a knack and attacks the offensive glass.
5 offensive boards already for Texas. Pow connects on a 3. led the nation a season ago from downtown at 47%. She's over 40 again this year.
And the ability to spread and open the floor when she can get going from the perimeter.
Here's Moore twisting inside. Look who it is, Oldacre again. Another chance on the interior. One more for Oldacre. Can't put it in. How about again? No. Oldacre piling up the offensive rebounds. Texas has been unable to finish anything, but they've been so effective on the offensive glass. Oldacre already has 6 offensive rebounds.
She's relentless, and of course she wants to finish those on the first one, but when she does it, she just keeps going and getting it.
Rebecca, I think when I said the 6, I hit the table and shut off our monitor.
Your monitor's out.
Wait,
the excitement on the 6 offensive boards.
I didn't know that just the slight fist. I don't have a 6'10" wingspan, and yet the monitor's out. Here's Booker, little pull-up, off the mark. Booker comes up with the offensive board and misses again. I mean, Texas with 10 offensive rebounds already, but they're 2 for 16 from the floor.
Booker's gotten really, really good looks for her, too. She's just not able to get any of them to fall early.
All right, Rebecca, is any of what we're seeing Texas be able to do on the offensive glass a sign of no Watkins for South Carolina as Pow grips it in, plus the foul, and a chance for 3 for Te-Hina Pow.
To answer your question, certainly. Ashlyn Watkins is a force on the glass, defensive glass and offensive glass. What a crossover by Pow in the floater. This is the area of her game that has grown so much from a season ago. Her ability to get in the paint, the floater, the mid-range. That was the question, right? Coming into this season, is she just a three-point shooter, or does she have all that other area of her game? Yes, she does.
Foul on Aaliyah Moore. Well, and when we talked to Dawn Staley back in early November, she said her challenge to Pow was having a counter to her 3. And the numbers show that she's developed that. Last year, just 28% of her field goal attempts in the paint. This year, 41% of her field goal attempts in the paint. Pow projected to be a late first-round pick in this year's WNBA draft as Harmon can't hit. And this time, a whistle against Moore. That is going to be her second. Vic Schaefer talked about early foul trouble, wanting to avoid it, fearing it could play a role in this game, and that's 2 on Moore. And
I didn't see
anything
there. No. And what's hard for that for Texas is Moore is one of their more agile post players defensively.
I mean, that didn't look like there was anything there at all. So Texas has shot it incredibly poorly, but 10 offensive rebounds. While South Carolina's 4 for 4, they have a 7-point lead. Dowda can at the 3. Johnson trying to save it, but it's out of bounds. Off of South Carolina. A 12-5 lead for the Gamecocks in the early going. A top 5 matchup in the SEC. Well, Dawn Staley and Vic Schaefer, through the years, plenty of big-time matchups. Spent 4 SEC tournament championship games from 2015 to 2020. South Carolina winning all of them. Then they met in the 2017 national championship game. South Carolina's first of what is now 3 national championships. See Asia Wilson leading that group. These teams then met in Vic Schaefer's first year at Texas in the Elite Eight, a South Carolina win. And Vic Schaefer, a lot of success in the SEC at Mississippi State, a 2-time national runner-up, 2 regular season SEC titles, a 3-time SEC Coach of the Year. And you can see in the interactions between Dawn Staley and Vic Schaefer the respect they have for each other. They spent a while this morning after shoot-arounds talking to each other, and also the respect they have for the toughness of their programs. Vic Schaefer was talking about how the difference between good and great players is how hard you play and how tough you are. And he said, that's what makes South Carolina so great. They have good players, yes, but the reason they're great is they are all tough and they always play hard.
One of the interesting things, yes, Texas is coming from the Big 12, but this was a team that was built like an SEC team under Vic Schaefer, even while they were in the Big 12.
Booker can't hit. Oldacre, another offensive rebound, her 7th of the quarter. Harmon lobs it up. Layup inside won't go, and a travel before. How about the shot chart in the first 5 minutes, Rebecca?
Texas has gotten really good looks, and this is the shot chart before that last timeout. I mean, these are the shots that you want to get. Look how many of them are in the paint, Ryan. How many of them are in the restricted area? They just can't get any of the fall.
I mean, they are 2 for 18 from the floor. And that's going to be a travel on the talented freshman, Joyce Edwards. The number 3 recruit in the nation, the Gatorade National Player of the Year last year. Someone who Dawn Staley really lauds the basketball acumen of, and just how insistent Joyce is on making the right play. Here's Booker. Booker dumps it over the head of Oldacre, out of bounds, as Texas turns it over. Booker will get a breather. Booker inefficient to start this game, to say the least. 0 for 6 from the floor.
Player whose hallmark all season long has been her efficiency.
Shooting 51% from the field, 46% from 3. Here's Fulwiley into the game off the bench for South Carolina. Fulwiley twisting, can't finish. Oldacre the rebound. Her 8th. Crowd was looking for a whistle. Did not get one.
Well, Oldacre ran over Fulwiley a little bit in order to get that board.
And then the bump from Raven Johnson triggers a whistle, and you know the sequence of events is not going to make this crowd happy.
There's a little Iverson action to get Fulwiley the look at the basket, and then there got tangled up with Oldacre, wanted the foul called.
And Dawn Staley making her feelings known. There's another talented freshman, Jordan Lee, into the game for Texas. That's going to be a push-off as Justice Carlton separated with that left arm and is called for it.
And we've talked about some of these looks for Texas being good looks for them, but they've not been easy looks. You know, even Madison Booker with the mid-range, which she typically makes, there still is a long South Carolina defender between her and the basket.
Well, here's, one interesting stat that kind of speaks to that, Rebecca. As Edwards bounces underneath, knocked out of bounds. So Texas is #1 in Division I in field goal percentage at the rim. You'd never know it watching the start of this game, right? 72%.
Yes.
But South Carolina is 7th best in the nation as far as opposing field goal percentage at the rim goes, at 46%. And so we're seeing some of that too. A team who defends the rim amongst the best in the nation. Edwards gets the foul called against Oldacre, and Joyce Edwards will shoot 2. Hey, coming up next right here on ESPN, NC State takes on Stanford at Maples Pavilion.
NC State coming off a loss to Cal. Prior to that, they had won 7 straight. Isaiah James leading the way for them with just around 17 points a game.
First foul on Kyla Oldacre. There goes the jacket. Vic Schaefer is fired up. He knows how difficult it is to win on the road at South Carolina, and was not happy with that call on Oldacre.
Well, also, he already has Aaliyah Moore on the bench with 2 fouls, and, he's got to be careful with his bigs. They do have depth at the post position, but he can't afford a second big to pick up her second in the first half.
Texas 2 for 18 from the floor. South Carolina on a 7-0 run. 8-point first quarter lead. Booker back in. Here's Booker spinning in traffic, dishing out. Harmon mid-range. No. Rebound. Oldacre again pops it in, plus the foul, and a chance for 3 on yet another offensive rebound.
She's just working. And again, that's a 6'10" wingspan, so she's got the length to go up over South Carolina. But we talked about it. Her disposition never changes. She just gets her work done.
Big time improvement from last season to this season at Miami for Kyla Oldacre, who told us earlier today her mentality is, I have to win my rebounding matchup against whatever big I'm going up against. That is my focus. And, well, she's got quite the head start. She has 9 rebounds in the first quarter, and she came off the bench.
She's 9 rebounds in 5 minutes.
And we're waiting for the official tally, but I believe 8 of them are offensive. At least 7 of them are. Fulwiley swoops it up and in, plus the foul. No, that'll be an offensive foul on Fulwiley.
Wow,
that crowd was exploding after the acrobatic finish, but an offensive foul. You hear the boos as they now realize.
Quick first step, she gets to the rim, tough finish. Oh yeah, the defender's standing there waiting for her. That's the right call.
The freshman Justice Carlton called for it. Meanwhile, we get word 8 offensive boards for Oldacre already. And that's going to be a foul. Oldacre going over the back of Kitts. And so that's a second foul on Oldacre. To your point, Rebecca, about that's why you're going to be sensitive to any foul calls, especially maybe that first one not being a lot there, because then when you do get another, obviously becomes a problem, and Oldacre has to come out of the game.
Because sometimes big players just get a foul by being big, by bumping into somebody. And so now you have a couple of players on the bench with foul trouble, and Oldacre has obviously been the most impactful big for Texas so far in this game.
And you see the way the offense have struggled so far today. This is a team that is #1 in the nation in offensive efficiency, and they are 3 for 21 against this South Carolina defense in the first. Carlton able to flag it down, out there with Harmon, Booker, Taylor Jones, and Jordan Lee. South Carolina with Fagan, Tessa Johnson, Chloe Kitts, Raven Johnson, and Mylasia Fulwiley. Booker off again. Good contest from Kitts. Booker now 0 for 7. Fulwiley up under and in.
Mylasia Fulwiley has made such a difference already in this game. Even the play where she got the offensive foul called, it got the fans out of their seats, brought energy to this team and arena.
Carlton barrels in, can't finish. Jones the O-board, put back won't go. Volleyed in the air. Here comes South Carolina. Tessa Johnson is fouled. And free throws for South Carolina in the bonus as Lee picks up the personal.
See Mylasia Fulwiley, this is where she thrives. Out in transition, just hangs and double clutches and finishes inside.
You know how Niele Ivey says transition is her playground, talking about Olivia Miles?
I do, yes.
I feel like it's Fulwiley's playground,
yes,
too. Tessa Johnson, it's the first. Johnson was such a key figure for South Carolina off the bench in their national championship victory a season ago in the Final Four. She was terrific, a player who didn't have gaudy numbers, wouldn't play big minutes, and then when they needed her most, averaged 14 points on 59% shooting in the Final Four. Played a key role, especially in the comeback against Iowa. Booker surges in, misses again, now 0 for 8. Fulwiley has it deflected by Harmon. About a 13-second difference, game and shot clock. Carlton lumbers in, zigs and zags her way to the cup. Texas just 4 for 26 from the floor in this first.
South Carolina with only 7 field goal attempts.
Yeah, that's incredible. The free throw line and efficient with those 7. 3 seconds left. Johnson can't bank it in, and that'll do it for the first. Texas with its lowest scoring quarter of the season. South Carolina, an 18-9 lead over Texas after one. The Gamecocks trying to make it 67 straight home wins. And Fulwiley providing a burst off the bench.
Fulwiley around the back. Good if it goes. Wow. Here she goes. Over the defense.
Oh, look at the pass. Oh, look at the play. Well, Mylasia Fulwiley adding to it the other night. Her highlight reel, and how about some today as well against Texas? You tune in any day, any night, watching Mylasia Fulwiley, you may see something special happen on a fast break.
Just absolutely fun to watch, and yes, you're right. If she can get going with a head full of steam in transition, time to hold your breath and see what's coming.
Rebecca, I'm not sure I've ever seen what we saw in that first quarter. Texas had 18 more field goal attempts than South Carolina in the quarter. That is an astonishing amount. That in itself is shocking. But to have 18 more field goal attempts and be down 9 at the end of the quarter, just remarkable.
You see here, they have 13 offensive boards, but only 4 second chance points. One of the things Vic Schaefer was talking to his team about this morning in shoot-around, he was saying, yak, yards after catch. He said, basically for them, we have to finish with contact today. And another example of them getting in the paint, absorbing a little bit of legal contact and not able to finish.
Yeah, it's obviously a term usually reserved for football. Really interesting to hear him use it as often as he did. As Kitts finishes on a nice delivery from Bree Hall. Meanwhile, South Carolina's been so efficient with their limited field goal attempts. 6 for 9 from the floor. They're 7 for 9 from the line. They have a 20-9 lead. Carlton separates, no, rebound, knocked around. South Carolina has it. Bree Hall dancing her way through, and it's going to be a charge as Rory Harmon took the contact.
It's one of the things Rory Harmon does so well is step in and take charges for her team. And right here, just reads it, gets there, stays vertical. Great job by Rory Harmon.
The Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year 2 seasons ago. Last year, tore ACL 12 games into the season.
Just saw how hard Bree Hall was making Addison Booker work just to catch the basketball.
Here's Hall, hanging with Booker again. Harmon gets some space and hits the jumper. A much-needed bucket for Texas. They're 5 for 29 from the floor. All the way down, layup not finished by Dowda after a beautiful down-court feed.
Dowda, one of the players who's going to get more opportunity in minutes with Watkins' injury.
There is Booker, finally getting one to drop. Had been 0 for 9 from the floor prior to that make. Yeah, Dawn Staley told us with Watkins' injury, Dowda is going to get the chance, that she's going to be good for us, and said, look, she can't play more poorly than she has, and that can happen with young players on an intimidating team, as that is another charge. Harmon again takes the contact.
Rory Harmon is so good at stepping in, establishing position, and then going down so the officials blow their whistle and make the call here. Slip screen by Kitts. What do you think? Is that a charge? That should have been a no call.
Close. Was Harmon established in time and owning the real estate? Booker, no, and a foul underneath against South Carolina. By the way, that foul was number 2 on Chloe Kitts. On the other end. Hey, Tuesday night, men's hoops, number 10 Texas A&M takes on number 6 Kentucky at 7 Eastern on ESPN2. Then on ESPN, Cooper Flag and 4th-ranked Duke host Miami at Cameron Indoor. Then it's Baylor and Arizona at 11 Eastern, 8 Pacific.
Cooper Flag coming off a game yesterday where he scored 42.
Yeah.
Not bad for an 18-year-old.
Pow over the head of Edwards, out of bounds, as South Carolina turns it over. Nine turnovers now for South Carolina. That has also contributed to the disparity in field goal attempts. Carlton can't hit the jumper. Pow the rebound. Again, a good look for Texas. Dawn Staley talked about we're going to need to score against them. Hopefully it's not a game in the 50s. Pow has been the best player on the floor thus far today.
She's made the right decisions. We've seen her hit a three. We've seen her use the floater, get to her mid-range.
8 points, 3 for 3 shooting. Seen her create for her teammates. Some good looks. Here's Carlton. Guarded by Edwards. Carlton gets denied. Fagan was there with the help.
Outstanding defense by South Carolina, all possession long, keeping their player in front of them, denying passes. And then the help comes over and Fagan able to get the block. But from start to finish, that was a terrific defensive possession.
6 on the shot clock. Inbound underneath, and Carlton able to finish. Justice Carlton, number 12 recruit in the nation this year.
That was a good yak.
Yards after contact?
Yes.
Here's Edwards. Puts it on the deck and gets denied by Jones. Number Oldacre on the bench with 2 fouls for Texas. So is Aaliyah Moore. Booker slides inside, can't finish the layup, and then a foul on Booker, and not a smart one for Madison Booker. That will be her first, though. She has already taken more shots today than she did all of Thursday, and obviously it's been a much different story. 1 for 13 now against this South Carolina defense.
And for the most part, again, she's gotten really good looks for her. She is an outstanding pull-up in the mid-range shooter. She hasn't gotten those to fall. This last drive was a nice, strong finish. Couldn't get that to drop. She's one of the most impressive young talents in this game right now.
Jakalonga went in Tonda into the game for Texas. Here's Pow, guarded by Lee. A pass underneath. Johnson and Harmon got tangled up, and it's out of bounds off of off of Texas. It'll stay with South Carolina. 7 on the shot clock.
These are two teams, especially in the interior, who play very physically with their post defense. So I would expect this game to continue to be physical, and maybe even more so as it goes on.
Pow will fire. It's hit from 3.
She didn't even have to pump fake. She just had to look to the middle of the floor for a second to get the time and space needed.
11 points for Pow. She's a perfect 4 of 4 from the floor. When Tonda bodies in, looking for an angle, can't find it. Harmon jitters, no. Johnson the rebound. A jam-packed, engaged crowd in Columbia. Dump it underneath. Edwards lays it in. Plus the foul.
I love that from Sanaya Fagan. We've seen her catch twice in the free throw line area and drain easily the mid-range jumper. This time catches, just right inside to her post teammate Edwards, beautifully delivered. I love the unselfish play by Fagan.
And then the way they celebrate each other. One of the things that Dawn Staley talks about all the time, you come to South Carolina, you have to understand the points, the minutes, they may not be what they'd be somewhere else, but you're trying to be a cog in winning, and that's been a hallmark in recent years for sure. Is Moinen Tonda able to finish after the high dribble. (27-17), number 2 South Carolina leads number 5 Texas. South Carolina has won 50 straight SEC regular season games. Paul floats it in on a nice take.
That was tough. That was a tough finish. Nice crossover to get past her defender and into the floater. And we've talked about how hard she's working on the defensive end as well on Booker.
Here's Booker. Booker pull up off again, well contested by Hall.
Great defense by Hall.
Booker now 1 for 14 from the floor. Dump it down again. Fagan Edwards connection. Timeout Texas.
Sanaya Fagan has shown that she can score, well, she can also assist. Once again, gets it high, delivers it low. Beautiful bucket.
Well, South Carolina, 14-point lead on Texas, number 2 against number 5 in the nation. Texas has really struggled shooting the basketball, 8 for 39, 20%. Meanwhile, South Carolina, 11 for 16. South Carolina's turned it over much more than is usual for them, but Texas has not been able to take advantage of that or their offensive rebounds as Carlton can't hit. Another look in the paint.
Yeah, go with the dribble drive that time, and she gets right into the paint. Good look. I mean, how many of those have just like burped back out of the rim so far in this game for Texas?
Excellent use of burp. Here's Fagan diving in. Hey, we were talking to some different members of WNBA coaching staffs who are here scouting today before the game. Fagan is a player who's of interest to teams. She is playing like a pro in this game.
Without question, and not only what we've seen from her on the offensive end, but here on the defensive end, she's been really physical with the Texas post players.
Fulwiley can't serve it in. Rebound Hall. Another chance for South Carolina. Edwards bodies in, and an offensive foul is called on Edwards.
We've talked about Texas offense, only shooting 20%. Their defense has been outstanding, in particular Bree Hall on Madison Booker, not letting her catch it, and then when she does, immediately gets right where she needs to be to not be driven on. She's fighting over screens. She's staying between Booker and the basket. She's contesting well. It has been an outstanding defensive performance for Bree Hall all game long.
Another one of those players who will be in consideration when it comes to the WNBA next season. And what's the word Dawn Staley uses to describe a Fagan, a Bree Hall, and how they fit into the WNBA?
She said they have to be blenders. They have to show all of the things they can do outside of scoring.
Dawn Staley said, look, they're not going to be starters. You have to know how you can blend with a team. As Harmon gets called for the offensive foul, and Texas turns it over.
And that's one sign of how well you're playing defensively, individually and as a team, is frustrating your opponent. You can do that by getting the offensive foul call. Just been really, really tough defensively, South Carolina.
Here's Kitts backing down, kicking out for Wiley. 16-point South Carolina lead. Fulwiley hops in and finishes. What a bucket from Mylasia Fulwiley. A 13-2 South Carolina run. 8-0 over the last 2:15. Harmon on the drive, flips it in, plus the foul. And a chance for 3 for Rory Harmon. Now we were talking about the depth of this team, Rebecca, and what Dawn Staley says, look, they could start anywhere else in the country, but they know that it's not totally about starting. It's about the big picture, which is preparing them to be a pro, because I don't think we have anybody on our team that can go into the WNBA and start. Not anybody. Not anybody. And
so nobody?
Yes, that's right. and Dawn's point is, so you better learn how to play off the bench. You better learn how to play with fewer minutes. And that's what all of these players are getting to experience here.
Certainly, and you need to know how to play with other really good players, and they're getting that as well.
Inside of 2 minutes remaining in this second quarter. Here's Kitts. Kitts, pull up, rims in.
Fagan credit on that one too, Ryan. She was posting up hard, didn't get it. She just took a step up to give Kitts a little screen to give her space to score.
17 points, South Carolina lead, shooting at 70% compared to Texas's 22 and falling. Knocked out of bounds, South Carolina ball. Now,
this is what I'm talking about. Fagan posting, nope, take a step up. Just give Kitts a little bit extra space to get her shot off. That's just smart, savvy post play.
South Carolina takes a timeout. We'll be back in 30 seconds on ESPN.
Back in Columbia, South Carolina with a 17-point lead. Te-Hina Pow leading the charge. 11 points on the day. Has she missed yet? No, she hasn't. Hit from three. She's had her floaters going inside as well. Just a great start for the senior guard.
Pow, 11 points on 4 of 4 shooting as Johnson sticks the jumper. South Carolina a sizzling 15 for 21 from the floor. That is 71%. A 19-point lead, the biggest deficit Texas has faced this season. And again, it's Fagan coming around for the steal.
Just pulled the chair at the right time to get around and get the basketball.
We've seen the passing, we've seen the jump shot, we've seen the defense from Sanaya Fagan in this game. That time we see the turnover. No, that might have been the first time we saw the turnover. South Carolina with 11 of them in this half. Texas has been unable to take advantage. Harmon forces it up and in off the window. Now, one other thing, Aaliyah Moore picked up her second. Kyla Oldacre picked up her second. Vic Schaefer did not risk them picking up a third in this first half. But South Carolina has taken advantage of Moore and Oldacre being on the bench. Texas had 13 offensive rebounds in the first quarter. They've had just 1 in the second quarter. Here's Lee in transition, can't finish, and that'll do it. Harmon didn't get it off in time. Texas's lowest scoring half of the season by far had been 32. South Carolina, the defending national champs, hold the Longhorns to 22 in the first half. Asia Wilson statue here in Columbia, South Carolina, where the number 2 ranked Gamecocks have a 39-22 lead on Texas as we get ready to start the second half. Ryan Ruocco alongside the Hall of Famer Rebecca Lobo. If I told you one team was going to have 23 more field goal attempts than the other in a half, you'd say, oh, that team's winning. No, that team was Texas, and South Carolina dominated them that first half.
And part of the reason for that was South Carolina was just absolutely outstanding on the defensive end of the floor. They made things very hard for Texas. Stayed between their player and the basket, forced some tough mid-range shots. Yes, shots that Texas often finishes, not today. Protected the paint as well. It's incredible when you look at the two-team shot chart. This is Texas. Didn't attempt a single three in this game so far. Look at all those mid-range shots and shots around the rim that they missed. And then you got South Carolina. That is a lot of green from all over the floor. Just so efficient with their production offensively.
South Carolina, 8 of their 9 players have scored. They have 4 players who haven't missed yet. Madison Booker struggled mightily in that first half, just 1 for 14 from the floor, thanks in large part to the defense of Bree Hall. Pow, a perfect 4 for 4 with 11 points. And Texas's largest halftime deficit since playing South Carolina in the 2021 Elite 8. South Carolina has won 66 straight home games, the 9th longest streak in Division I history. They have won 50 straight regular season SEC games, the longest streak in conference history, as Booker got right to the cup, but again, misses the layup.
Really well designed backdoor play for Madison Booker. Gets a great look, cannot finish it.
And that's been the story thus far for Booker and Texas. Booker now 1 for 15 from the floor. By the way, when you see that Texas has not attempted a 3 yet in this game, that is not completely outside of their character. They do not rely on the 3 ball, as Moore, who sat most of that first half with 2 fouls, finishes on the interior. Texas averages 3.7 made threes per game. That's 333rd of 353 D1 teams.
And one of the things South Carolina took away defensively is any catch and score opportunities for Texas. Texas with 1 assist, only 1, on their 10 made field goals in that first half.
There's the ranks we're talking about when it comes to three-point shooting. Now, despite that, Texas enters this game with the most efficient offense in Division I.
It might take a hit to
Well,
the right.
I think that first half is not going to help their ranking. Here's Moore turning the corner, gets denied. 5th block of the day for Sanaya Fagan. Here's Raven Johnson. Kids couldn't grab it. It's out of bounds.
Sanaya Fagan, great job coming over, help size. See how she just stays upright. Blocks it with the left hand. That's how you do it. Textbook right there.
Fagan has tied her career high with 5 blocks. In the corner, Shea Holly misses the 3. That's the first three-point attempt of the game for Texas. Booker corrals it. Here's Booker elevating and dropping it in over what was a good contest there from Bree Hall.
It's a really good contest, and we've seen that from Madison Booker throughout her career. Elevate, little bit of a fade, gets the shot off. More often than not, it goes in, just not today.
Booker now 2 for 16 from the floor. Here's Kitts, nice crossover. Kitts forces it up and off. Moore comes back for the rebound. By the way, Moore was sitting with those fouls, and so was Kyla Oldacre, who didn't play the entire second quarter. Starts this quarter on the bench as Jones picks up the offensive foul, and Fagan again there defensively.
Fagan was playing her tough defensively and frustrated Jones, so you'll see her post up and then throw the elbow right there. And that's just because Fagan has been physical every time down defensively, not allowing the offensive player to get the spot and positioning she wants.
And if you're Texas and you feel like you got a little momentum starting the third, you don't want fouls like that. Here's Pow Pow putting it down in a crowd, able to escape. Hall connects on a 3.
Don Staley talking to us before the game said 50-50 balls are going to be important. That was one of them. Pow Pow gets down on the ground, gets the possession.
Harmon, little hesitation, ducks inside. Moore, looking to take it to Kitts. Moore, nice footwork, couldn't finish. Popped away from Fagan, but Raven Johnson comes up with it. Here's Hall.
Pow Pow on the other side of the floor was jumping up and down and showing her hands because she was open.
Finally got it. Could not hit. First miss of the game for Te-Hina Pow Pow. The Oregon transfer who has absolutely thrived at South Carolina over the past 2 seasons. And a whistle here. And looks like Aaliyah Moore has some blood. So while she has that tended to, we will remind you tomorrow night on SEC Network, Vanderbilt heads to Baton Rouge to take on undefeated LSU. Coverage begins 7 Eastern, 6 Central. What have you thought of LSU thus far this season?
They've been impressive, and it's always interesting with LSU because you kind of have to wait till they get into conference schedule because they don't play the most robust non-conference. They look terrific against Tennessee. Huge shot by Gilbert at the end of the game to win that one. But they certainly have a lot of talent. And we get to do that game here in about 10 days against South Carolina. That's going to be a great one.
Yeah. See the strength of schedule thus far. South Carolina with the 4th hardest schedule today. Texas 31st, LSU 49th. LSU undefeated at 18-0, and that is going to be an offensive foul
Shea Holly. Yeah, she wasn't quite set as Madison Booker was running the baseline trying to come off the screen.
So if you're Texas, you come out of the gates in the quarter with a couple of buckets, a few forced turnovers and stops. You have the ball, cut it to 13, and then back-to-back turnovers. Texas with 26 more field goal attempts than South Carolina in this game, but it's South Carolina with the 16-point lead as Harmon forces South Carolina's 16th turnover. Booker, wow, I mean, boy, that layup wasn't even close.
She sprinted the floor, too, to get there.
Hall loses it out of bounds. Another South Carolina turnover. I mean, that missed layup was just, yeah, I mean, I think that's what...
Lots of Texas fans are thinking about Madison.
Yeah. I mean, Madison Booker, who is an unbelievably efficient talent, that layup was just not even close. And I think it inspired, you know, that phrase, which is abbreviated with 3 letters.
She's missed 15 field goal attempts in this game, most in her career.
Here's Booker. Lost the handle and the basketball for Fulwiley. On the break, lays it in. $18 points, South Carolina lead. Crowd at Colonial Life Arena has been terrific. More, no, Fagan slaps it out. Fulwiley again. Fulwiley tried to force it in, and Holly able to knock it out of bounds.
A good block by Chloe Kitts, and then afterwards sprinting the floor the other way, beating Texas down. Ball goes out of bounds, but the effort in particular by the South Carolina post players today running the floor has been exemplary.
I'm just saying, you've dropped a burp and exemplary in the same broadcast.
I didn't precede the burp with exemplary, however.
It's this level of versatility that got you your spot in the Hall of Fame. Fulwiley can't hit the jumper. Fagan cleaning it up. Couldn't finish on the interior. Here comes Harmon. Harmon in a crowd surrounded, and a tie-up. Possession arrow belongs to South Carolina. We will step aside. South Carolina, number 2 team in the nation, leading number 5 Texas by 18.
Malaysia Fulwiley, such a delight to watch in transition. Gets the steal, soars the other way for the score.
We can all help people affected right now by donating at redcross.org/ESPN to help the Red Cross respond and help people recover. I know certainly from us, we send all of our best wishes, prayers, our support to everybody in that community. We all know people who have been absolutely devastated by what is going on in Los Angeles right now.
And I think so many people who aren't out there are thinking, how can I help? And that's a perfect way to do so, by donating to the Red Cross.
So just head to redcross.org/ESPN. South Carolina, a 16-point lead over Texas. 4.5 minutes to go in the third quarter. South Carolina, number 2 team in the nation. Texas, number 5, is Johnson with the snatch and the finish.
Wow, well, a play run for Johnson to post up a smaller Rory Harmon, but the ball was thrown a little short and she just grabbed it.
Yeah, big time grins on that South Carolina bench after the way Johnson went up and got that one. Oldacre into the game for Texas, was on the bench the entire second quarter after she picked up her second foul, and doing what she did in the first, offensive boarding. Just incredible, the factor she's been on the offensive glass. But Raven Johnson wanted to post the smaller Rory Harmon.
Show me a 5'9" Johnson posting up in the lane, just reaches over, snatches the ball. Beautifully done.
Well, we can't wait for that matchup. LSU, South Carolina, January 23rd, 8 Eastern on ESPN. It will be a show here in Columbia. 18,000 fans here today for this top 5 matchup between Texas and South Carolina. A matchup that thus far has been dominated by last year's national champions, the Gamecocks. There's always, I mean, those matchups between South Carolina and LSU are always so entertaining.
I'm really looking forward to watching Anissa Morrow in that one. She's averaging 18 points, 14 rebounds per game. Flau'jae Johnson averaging a hair under 20. They've both been terrific. The addition of Kaylin Gilbert has been great for that team in terms of shot creation. It's going to be a fun one.
Wow, Oldacre misses both free throws. She has 9 offensive rebounds in this game in just 6 minutes played.
That's a good rebound per minute.
Yeah, I'd say so. Texas had 13 offensive rebounds in the first quarter. She had 8 of them, sat the entire second, and they had just 2 in that frame. Here's Fulwiley, shot clock fading. Fulwiley around the hedge, 2 to shoot, will pull. Doesn't get the roll. Nice box out there by Moore, and here comes Booker. Booker just 2 for 17 from the floor in the day. A rare off game for Madison Booker. Misses again. Joyce Edwards couldn't scrape it up. Moore gets denied. Moore hesitated, and it gave Raven Johnson a moment to come back defensively as Edwards finishes on the other end, plus the foul.
Starting on the defensive end, as it usually does for South Carolina. They get the block, they then get out in transition. You see Edwards running the floor. Once again, a post player getting down, absorbing the contact, and finishing.
Largest lead of the game for South Carolina, largest deficit Texas has faced by far this season. Dawn Staley told us before the game she felt like their schedule up until this point has really prepared them for a game like this, for a stretch like this, where South Carolina is going to play 5 straight games against ranked teams. And I would say they've looked prepared thus far.
Without question, they have looked unfazed and ready since jump.
21-point lead. Here's Moore trying to find an angle and does.
Moore overall has been really good when she's been on the floor. She had foul trouble in that first half.
Fulwiley can't finish it. Moore the rebound.
But she's had good patience and footwork inside.
Fulwiley, and it's going to be a tie-up, and possession arrow belongs with South Carolina.
We've talked about Madison Booker and what a bright young star she is in the women's college game, but today has not been her day. All of these shots that you're going to see her miss are ones that she typically makes easily, and she's had some really good looks, including in the paint, and she is just struggled so much today.
Joyce Edwards can't stick the jumper. Johnson the rebound. Fagan has it taken away. 18th South Carolina turnover. Their season high is 20.
Great defense there, just jumping out quickly on Booker.
Preston can't pop it in. And a whistle going against Aaliyah Moore. Pick up her 3rd. Played through at 2000 the first half and was on the bench with Vic Schaefer, who, you know, this year against Notre Dame and South Carolina, they've really struggled to shoot the basketball. The rest of the season, they've been incredibly efficient. You wonder about that because these are by far the 2 best opponents they have played.
And what's interesting is very different styles defensively, as you see the nice take by Mylasia Fulwiley. Notre Dame played zone that entire game against Texas, gave them problems. South Carolina has played man-to-man, jumping out, helping this entire game, and it's given Texas problems.
Preston reverses it up, gets fouled by Fagan. And free throws here for Brianna Preston.
The right to left crossover by Mylasia Fulwiley. With her acceleration and speed, you better have a big there to help, because she's going to be able to get by many perimeter defenders.
We talk about the egalitarian attack of South Carolina. There's not gaudy scoring numbers for anybody on their team, and you see that as they go even further into their bench now with Adele Tack Look at their numbers today, Rebecca. A single player's in double figures. It's Pow Pow. She has 11 points. Yet here they are up 21 on one of the top 5 teams in the nation.
Yeah, nothing takes your breath away individually when you're just looking at the stats, but collectively and their wear-down capabilities, it's one of the reasons they're one of the best teams in the country.
And that's what Dawn Staley's talking about, the focus on just doing winning things. She was talking to us before the game saying, WNBA GMs, coaches, when you're looking for talent, they're going to find people who can score. You really need to know how to do all of those other winning things. South Carolina's players certainly showing that today.
And that's one of the things that can get lost at lower levels of basketball. How do you affect winning when you're not scoring?
Spoken like someone who's had some experiences at the local rec teams. Johnson lobbing it in. Edwards waits and finishes.
Once again, post players for South Carolina running down the floor, running hard in transition every time.
Brianna Preston dumps it down, out of bounds. South Carolina ball.
The number one thing you have to do going against South Carolina is get back in transition. Why? Because they run, and their bigs run. Look at Joyce Edwards. As soon as Raven Johnson got the basketball, head down, sprinting the other way.
Well, how many times have you talked about today the way the interior players of South Carolina run the floor?
Beautifully.
And it's bear fruit over and over again. Here's Tack turning, can't finish. Rebound Moore. Adele Tack, a 6'5" freshman from Grand Prairie, Texas. Number 28 recruit in the class of 24. Got a 2-second difference, game and shot clock. Preston, 5 to shoot. Dumps it down, Moore, 3 to shoot. Oldacre gets it off in time and plops it in. That'll end the third. South Carolina, a 19-point lead after 3, holding Texas to just 34 points thus far. South Carolina riding a 66-game home win streak, a 50-game SEC regular season win streak, has a 19-point lead on Texas as we begin the fourth quarter. Texas held to 9 in the first quarter, 13 in the second, 12 in the third. That's their lowest in all 3 quarters this season individually. And South Carolina's defense has just been terrific as Edwards going to get called for the foul there after the miss in transition. But we talked about before, Rebecca, I mean, Texas came into this game #1 in the nation in offensive efficiency, and they have not had any kind of streak or even a run of 4 or 5 minutes where they've been able to establish any kind of rhythm against South Carolina's defense.
A Texas team that leads the nation in free throws made, and South Carolina hasn't been fouling them. They haven't bailed them out and put them at the free throw line to give them buckets when their shots simply can't fall.
Right, Texas 4 of 8 from the line in this game. Madison Booker struggles, obviously the founding pillar of Texas's offensive struggles in this game. Booker, the all-world sophomore, just 2 for 18. And you credit Bree Hall and South Carolina's defense for the way they have defended Booker. Holly's jumper is off. Rebound into the arms of Fulwiley. Fulwiley speeding ahead, lost it. Booker comes away with it, 19th South Carolina turnover. Here's Preston lining up a 3 and knocking it down. The first made 3 of the game for Texas.
Ryan, each player on the floor for South Carolina right now is wearing shoes the color of highlighters.
Oh, you know what? You're right. I like it. Fulwiley in the highlighters. Can it to 3, knocked out to Oldacre. No, I like your footwear observations, maybe more than anything else. And you're right, they are all. No, it is interesting.
And mostly all different.
Holly Can't bank it in. Oldacre, another offensive rebound. Her reverse won't go. Another O-board from Oldacre. Gets denied, and a tie-up, and the possession arrow belongs to South Carolina.
So do you know what the practice players for South Carolina, what they call them?
Yes, but remind me, the highlighters. Yes,
And
yes.
That is Sam Millstone. He was a member of the practice squad a year ago, one of the highlighters. This year he is a manager for the South Carolina team. He's a sophomore, but as one of the highlighters last year, got a championship ring with that squad. So this is in keeping with my New Year's resolution to highlight a manager in every game.
I love that. And how often have we heard Dawn Staley talk to us about the value of the highlighters, their practice players, of which Sam was before becoming manager. Very nicely done. And tying it all in with the highlighted shoes on the floor.
Right, which was actually just a coincidence.
Maybe it's an homage we didn't know about.
Right.
Here's Preston. Preston flips it up and in, and now Texas getting a little something going in this fourth quarter. They've cut it to 14. Trailed by as many as 21. Trailed by 19 at the end of 3. A 7-0 Texas run. Edwards has it knocked away, 5 to shoot. Edwards lost the footing. Johnson needs to put it up and does. Huge bucket from Raven Johnson.
And that was one of the more stagnant possessions by South Carolina in this game. Not a lot of moving or cutting, and yet they still are able to score by getting to the offensive glass.
Seen so many little winning plays from Raven Johnson in this game. A few key offensive rebounds. Preston a 3, way off on that one. Rebound caroms out to Hall. This is the tough part about when you fall in a hole like Texas has. You almost feel like you can't afford to have a single moment like Raven Johnson's putback or that miss from Preston when you're trying to mount the comeback. 6.5 to go in the fourth. Tessa Johnson, she got it.
And just smart play as well with this lead for South Carolina. Used some of the clock. She took that shot with under 10 on the shot clock.
Moore squares up, can't hit. Rebound Johnson. Her 9th of the day, deflected out of bounds by Moore. It will stay with South Carolina.
Tessa Johnson just has a calmness about her on the offensive end. Pump fake, dribble, second dribble, just pull up. She is so smooth. You talked about how good she was in the Final Four a year ago. 7 of 11 in that national championship game. Just incredibly efficient.
I remember in that national championship game, Iowa had gotten out to a double-digit first quarter lead. Caitlin Clark set a record with 18 first quarter points, and then Tessa Johnson, Malaysia Fulwiley came off the bench and changed the game for South Carolina. Hall short on a 3. Fagan cross court. Here's Kitts. Johnson's pull up. No. Freshman Jordan Lee with the rebound, pushing pace for Texas. Lee's been terrific from 3 this season. Hasn't gotten any looks in this game. Gets denied inside. Oldacre able to separate and dump it in. 12 offensive rebounds now for Oldacre in 15 minutes of action. 5th time this season, Texas has had at least 20 O-boards in a game as Kitts gets fouled by Oldacre. 3rd personal on Oldacre, and Kitts will go to the line.
Just saw in the background Dawn Staley talking to Malaysia Fulwiley, talking to her, then putting her in the game. And I love it. Coach, what do you want from me? You don't even have to ask. Coach comes over, makes it very clear. This is what I expect. This is what I want you to do. This is what I want you to work on in these moments.
hits both free throws. And Dawn Staley talked to us about that before the game, how Mylasia Fulwiley learning the when of everything when it comes to simplifying things or getting creative and fancy. But feeling like she's improving upon that. Booker's jumper, that one rolls in for Madison Booker, now 3 for 19 from the floor. Ooh. Preston and Johnson bang into each other, and Brianna Preston will get called for the personal. 4:48 to go in the fourth. South Carolina trying to make it 67 straight home wins. Love the passion of diehard Philly sports fan and Philly legend Dawn Staley, who is rocking the Randall Cunningham Eagles jacket today. And I think this is the perfect pregame. She probably was looking for her team up by 16 midway through the fourth over Texas.
I think all of our listeners should know that when we met with Dawn pregame, your first question to her was, what's a good place in Columbia to watch the Eagles game tonight?
That's right. And Dawn's answer was, you can come to my house. Dawn rides hard for her teams. The Eagles taking on the Packers this afternoon. And really was scheduled perfectly for Dawn.
Right.
You get done with the game, you go home, and basically the game's starting. Fourth foul on Kyle Oldacre, who has a career-high 15 rebounds today. Johnson just got swallowed up by Oldacre, and the possession arrow belongs to Texas. SEC dominance this year. For the men, AP poll 6 teams in the top 10, most by a single conference in AP poll history. For the women, 7 teams in the top 20, tied for the most by a single conference in AP poll history. Catch and shoot 3 off the mark for Lee. Of course, remember, we will have the SEC tournament on our air come March. As Booker comes down with a rebound, going to stay here. Foul called on Preston. And a lot of big-time SEC matchups coming up, including that matchup in about 10 days, right back here between South Carolina and LSU.
And each SEC team has one conference opponent they play twice, and these two teams will be playing each other once again as Fagan goes in for another hoop.
Now that game will be on February 9th, Super Bowl Sunday. A little appetizer before the big game. Fagan, 8 points, 7 rebounds, 6 blocks now for Sanaya Fagan, who has just made an incredible impact this afternoon, coming up with another rebound here for South Carolina. China Robinson was reminding us earlier, our dear friend and colleague, that Sanaya's parents, both hoopers. Mother Sherry played at Washington. Father Charles played at Morgan State. As again, South Carolina getting it done on the interior this time, Chloe Kitts. And Sherry actually was a teammate of LaChina's, won a Ben Hill championship, the rec center in Atlanta back in the day, and was the best player carrying that team while also having 4 kids. That's the kind of multitasking we need to celebrate.
That's right.
Isn't that right, mother of 4?
That's right. My rec days were done by the time I had the first, though. God bless her.
18-point South Carolina lead. Carlton able to bang it in off the window. South Carolina, after building a lead midway through the first, just never has looked back. Never gave Texas any kind of life on the offensive end. A Texas team that entered this game #1 in the nation in offensive efficiency. They have their lowest scoring first quarter, lowest scoring second quarter, lowest scoring first half, lowest scoring third quarter. And here's some of what Fagan has done throughout the day.
Yeah, Sherry and Charles, baby girl has had herself a day. And yes, she's gotten into the bucket and scored. She's done it defensively, blocking shots. We've also seen her with some beautiful dimes in the high-low game and then fake the handoff and finish left. She has been incredibly impressive today.
And it was interesting, Dawn Staley was honest with us talking about, you know, a player like Te-Hina Fagan, a player like Bree Hall. She's sure that they're thinking about how they can stand out ahead of the WNBA draft. Whereas, you know, maybe a player like Te-Hina Powell has a little more conviction knowing she's going to get a shot in the pros and going to be drafted. Well, a performance like this from Te-Hina Fagan, she looks every bit like a player who can help with WNBA roster.
This is how you do it. Fagan has run the floor. She's defended. She's done the other things. Bree Hall, as you see right there, has been rock solid defensively.
Oldacre hooks it in. Oldacre has been the brightest spot for Texas in this game. 10 points, 16 rebounds, and that's going to be a charge as Oldacre takes the contact from Fulwiley.
In another possession where Chloe Kitts ran the floor. Like, I can't emphasize over and over as Oldacre gets there to take the charge, how impactful it is when your post players run every time down the floor. The cumulative effect it has on the other team's defense, wearing them out as the game goes on. It's been relentless from South Carolina, and I've loved every second of it.
And that is what Vic Schaefer really highlighted to us about South Carolina. Again, Kitts running, and then she finds Hall for the layup. But Vic Schaefer, that was the #1 thing he emphasized to us about South Carolina and why they're difficult to go up against. Because he said, it's not just that they're good. What makes them great is they play hard and run hard all the time. If you're Madison Booker, Rebecca, you have a game like this, and obviously you're going to have games like this throughout the course of your career. This is a player who is going to be a star at the next level, has a lot of great work still to do in college. What is kind of the mindset or approach in the aftermath of going 3 for 19 in a game like this?
It is just getting back to it in the next one and continuing to do the other things and not putting all of your worth into whether your shots go in or not. Ryan, all of the shots she's taken were good shots for her.
Yeah.
And that's the most important thing. Some games you're going to struggle. And this has been one of those games where they haven't fallen, but she'll regret. You can regress in that direction to the mean, right?
Yeah.
Like she's a 50, 40, 85 player. It's going to come back. It's just unfortunate for her that her struggle happened in their biggest game to this point of the season.
Vic Schaefer is going to call a timeout, or we have a little infection control situation. I think we have an infection control moment. Well, we talked about the 5 straight ranked opponents. Thursday at Alabama, Jan 19th, Oklahoma. We'll be back here for LSU January 23rd, and then at Tennessee, 5 straight ranked opponents, first time since the 17-18 season. That's happening for South Carolina. And a timeout taken by Texas, with South Carolina leading by 18. It is amazing, Rebecca, that this program for South Carolina that Dawn Staley has built has gotten to the point that regardless of who graduates and regardless of who's injured, it feels like they are able to always piece it together and remain a force to be reckoned with. Ashlyn Watkins is a standout star impact player. Even if she doesn't put up gaudy numbers, she is an athlete that jumps off the screen, and we saw that last year en route to their national championship. But she just goes down with a torn ACL a couple games before their biggest game of the season here against Texas, and South Carolina doesn't miss a beat.
And it still is remarkable to me of how South Carolina just completely changed their style and the way they played after Aaliyah Boston graduated, to predominantly get the ball inside, don't take a lot of threes, dominate the glass team, to what we saw a year ago. An outstanding three-point shooting team, using their depth, really getting out in transition and running. They just continue to find success, even if it's playing differently than they have in the past.
Final 20 seconds here in Columbia. Reminder, NC State Stanford coming up next. Beth Mullins, Deb Antonelli will have to call that game for you here on ESPN. Nick Schaefer knows how hard it is to win in this building. Get a chance to host South Carolina on February 9th. Texas's previous season low was 65 points. Obviously going to obliterate that here today. No free chicken for everybody, as Oldacre would have had to miss both free throws. Crowd boos. That's about the only thing they've had to boo today. Make it 67 straight home wins, 51 straight regular season SEC wins for South Carolina. 67-50 the final in Columbia. Dick Schaefer and Dawn Staley, a long exchange and conversation. And the handshakes continue for our producer, Kerry Callahan, our director, Anthony DeMarco, the Hall of Famer, Rebecca Lobo. I'm Ryan Rucco. Now let's get you back to the studio. Shea Cornett, Andrea Carter after a South Carolina 67-50 win over Texas.